Welcome everyone to Tyranny of Dragons, session number 55. Death is not the end. Ready when you are, Havoc.
Alright.
So I prepare my vocal cords for a little while. Alright, so before we get into this session and what is happening to the scales of justice, let's go ahead and recap what happened last session. During last session, you started off by continuing the fight against this cult assault on the field ward here in Waterdeep. During a parade that was in your honor, as well as the Council of Waterdeep, celebrating your successes thus far and encouraging you for the final fight that was near at hand, the cult attacked, seemingly onto Waterdeep itself, onto your own home ground. They had brought the fight to you. After slaying several members of the cult, as well as some of their half-dragon leaders, you continued on, heading towards the sound of dragons and fire spurting throughout the air. As you got closer, you found 3 younger dragons, along with many more cultists, including some assassins who you didn't initially see upon entering this courtyard area. As the fight commenced, the dragons acting fairly intelligently, along with the cultists moving in ways to single out members of the party, you were all able to notice that they clearly meant to end the scales this time, after the 2 previous failures of them seeking you out trying to end your lives. As the battle progressed, it seemed that things were going your way. One of the dragons was slain by Ignalia, and the cultists were beginning to drop, though they were still packing a punch, even knocking Rogar to the ground, unconscious. However, the battle took a bit of a turn to the worse, as a large, old red dragon named Zazid the Bright showed up to join the fight. Though the party continued to fight valiantly and took out all of the cultists as well as the other 2 young dragons, Zazid showing up towards the tail end of the fight. After already going through 2 major battles up until this point, the party found themselves exhausted and definitely at a disadvantage. But that didn't stop you. You continued fighting, slaying down into Zazid, doing your best to bring down this dragon, just unable to do so. Slowly, one by one, the Scales of Justice members began falling to the dragon. Rogar was killed first, unfortunately never able to recover. And after that, one by one, you just could not survive the onslaught of Zazid. As the battle seemed to be reaching its conclusion, everyone knocked out, struggling to survive, and though some of you would try to stand back up, Zazid would be waiting to finish you off. And through the ebbing moments of your lives all briefly surrounding you, you could hear the beating of wings and the roar of flames encompassing you all. Instead of nothingness after this, you saw blackness around you, not feeling your bodies around you or even able to see them. It seemed that you were a presence more than anything else. But then in the darkness you saw a small pinprick of light. This light began to grow and eventually encompassed everything that you could see. And then you saw each other, standing in pure whiteness, surrounding all around you for as far as you could see. As you looked down, able to see your bodies once again, as well as each other's, you heard a voice. A voice that, well, okay, seeing is relative here. A voice that was familiar. This voice rang out from somewhere that you initially couldn't place. It said, "Well, that didn't go very well, now did it?" And as you all turn at the same time as we start this session, you see a familiar figure limping towards you. Vlagan Moradin moves slowly towards you all, seeming to walk on nothing but pure white that surrounds all of you. "But, well, it was bound to happen eventually. They were getting more and more desperate every time they sent a group to take care of you. Lucky for you, you made some friends on your journeys. Powerful ones. Ones that are attempting to bring you back to Toro right now as I speak, actually. They're very insistent." Blagan looks up as he says this, his ever-present hood still covering most of his features, minus the ever-present crooked nose pointing out and a bit of a smug smile. Well, as he looks across, addressing all of you with kind of outstretched arms, how did it feel?
Hot. How is this possible? How are we here? How are you here?
That Blagan kind of tilts his head for a moment and says, well, you're dead, as it were. You were on your ways to another place, a place called the Upper Plains, where your souls would be intact again and yada yada. But I stopped you in transit, and it didn't matter if I did or not. You were going to have the option to come back. As I said, powerful allies you've made. They're attempting to bring the scales back.
Why would you stop us here then?
Well, cutting out the middleman, saving you less confusion, I suppose, if nothing else. You see, as I said, this was bound to happen one way or another. You're strong. Don't get me wrong there. Don't let anyone take anything away from you in that regard. But you are only mortal, after all. But I think that this had to happen. I'm not sure exactly, but you needed to learn something. Though I'm sure you all feel crushed a bit and having lost this fight and lost your lives in the process. I would like to offer some advice or kind words, but I think we all know that that wouldn't be like me. No, this is a feeling you must learn and learn to conquer. The fights to come will be worse. So much worse. But, well, people believe in you. The sheep that scurry around on the ground where you're from, and the ones pulling the strings behind them, they all believe in you. They've chosen you and believe you can finish this when the time comes. And that's why I'm delaying your return. I come now, not as I did before, with offers of deals and conniving schemes and such, no, but with gifts for the final fight. No strings attached this time, I promise. You see, I'm limited in what I can offer, but not as limited as others who have hands in this. I was chosen as an envoy to help guide and assist you in my own way, with my own free choice, and I must admit, it's been rather fun.
Who chose you?
Thaddy thinks for a moment, says there are many powers that control the ebb and flow of events in your world, and those powers are greater than you, or greater even than I. Where there is one evil deity trying to return to the plane, there is a good one trying to stop it. But he is, as I said, limited in the ways he can do so.
I need to see this to the end. We need to see this to the end. Make sure Tiamat does not come back. Are they as close as we fear that they are? The cult, that is.
One second. Apparently there's voice blips happening on my voice, so I'm checking things real quick.
Huh.
Alright, I've restarted everything. We'll see if that helps or not. As you ask how close they are, you see Vlagan thinking for a moment. Says they are very close. Closer than you would like, and closer than I would as well. But nothing we can do about that now.
Well, any and all help that you can provide. Not only would we, but the people of the Sword Coast and the people of Toril would be grateful.
With that, you see Vlagan kind of crossing his arms, the covers of his robe, bring up his hands, and he nods. And he starts to walk across, all of you standing kind of in this circle. Once again, no distinguishing features of the terrain around you, just pure white. And he begins walking around, starting with Stone Skull. With that, he looks over towards you, Stone Skull. Says, "Yes, I always had something in mind for you, this fearless warrior, always conquering things with brute strength, if not always brains. But that is fine. No one ever said brains were all you needed in fights, after all. Your friends believe in you, as do others, and, dare I say, as do I. Your weapon, Gleam Edge, is an old weapon, even by my standards. He is particular, but he doesn't have much say in what I've done. When you return, Gleam Edge will have a new ability, allowing you to attack true and cutting down all those in front of you, regardless if they want to be cut or not. I wonder, Stone Skull, have you ever heard of the legendary Vorpal swords?"
Stone Skull just kind of looks and shakes his head.
Well, they're very difficult to find, but their magic is not foreign to me. I have imbued Gleam Edge with its properties. Do not let anything stop you. Gleam Edge will help you with this, but remember, he is nothing without you. But you are something without him. And with that, he continues walking, passing by you, going to the next person in the circle, Ignalia. Ignalia, yes, your gift was difficult to obtain, to say the least. I had to outsource it? I haven't given you your sword, its powers, really. That's come from another. Though I'm sure you've noticed that by now. You're a bright lass, after all. Well, I talked to the powers that be, and they decided, being the Avengers that you are, that your weapon would reflect the ferocity and protection that you seek to give to everyone, especially your friends that you've made on this journey. Fight alongside them as you have thus far, and your burning devotion will aid them and you in the coming fights. And before you ask, I will not tell you anything about whom I've spoke of giving this power. That is for you to find out, and you alone.
She just smirks a little bit, nods, and then says, "Where's your tree?"
Oh, I left it back down there. Don't worry. With that, he continues walking. As he makes his way around the circle, getting sort of towards the halfway point, he stops at Terra. Terra, you can feel him and kind of everything. You have this semblance of sight about you right now. With that, he begins to speak again. Terra, the world is so different to you than to others, and yet you've made allies and friends nonetheless. Through strife and adversity, you've even brought a friend into being. That's item, Gaia's Fist, has been used in the past, but never in such an interesting way. I mean, Mr. Pebbles, really? How intriguing. Anyway, with how things are going, he just doesn't seem able to keep up with you, and joining you and helping you. How I know that he seems to want to. Strange for such a construct to start developing feelings. I simply allowed him to grow the way he wanted. I think you'll be able to easily tell how much stronger he is when you return, and what power he can offer you. I hope he proves to continue to be an ally and a friend to you and your friends.
Thank you. We'll find out, I guess.
That he kind of nods to himself and continues walking, moving towards Rogar. Does that take another drink? With that, he approaches up to you, Rogar, kind of stopping in front of you and tilting his head as he looks at you. Kind of cranes a gnarled finger towards you, says, Rogar, or Steve. No, I don't think you've needed that time for quite a while now. You've found yourself now among friends despite your, uncommunicative nature. But more have been introduced to you and your gentlemen over your adventure, I suppose. Yes, you're always so simple in your approaches, yet it's usually very effective. My gift to you is simply to allow you to keep doing what you're doing. Simple, elegant, and quiet killing. I do wish you the best of luck, my silent friend.
Thank you acquisitively.
Okay. Okay. Big drink. With that, he finishes out the circle, finishing off with the last member of the scales, with Max. With that, he stands before you, kind of turning full, frontal towards you, and puts his hands kind of in front of him in a thinking posture for a few moments. Max. Or, excuse me. Should we use proper names now? You've come to know who you truly are, Maxif Thandrix Ingotsethix. Or at least what you were. You see, I have no gift for you, but not for lack of try. In regards to you, my hands are simply tied.
I
You
understand.
had a mission that you were sent on, a mission of repentance. A mission you've carried out, and you've been rewarded along the way for doing so. I think that he has one final gift for you when you return. I would check that funny little journal that I frustratingly cannot read myself when you return. It will have all the information you need, though, amusingly, not all you'd want, I'm sure. Such are the ways of those above. With that, he kind of nods to you.
And, nod back. I think I understand.
Good.
Finally.
With that, he nods and kind of moves to the center of the circle around you. And with that, he kind of moves around, looking towards all of you in turn. As well, now that I've spoken to each of you, before I allow you to return, if you so choose, do you have any questions for me? This will most likely be the last we see of each other. My task ends here, and the rest is up to you. And your allies, of course. Eddie waits, looking around at all of you.
You said it would be the last time I saw you last time.
You expect me to always tell the truth. That's quite interesting. I do have free will, at least for now.
Who? Can you won't tell us who your counterpart is?
With that, he thinks for a moment. I think we all know who he is, but I think it would be best just to mind all the rules and regulations that he is tied under, to not to mention his name, at least from my lips.
have a million questions, but I don't feel like any of the answers matter now.
You see him thinking for a moment, says, there are always more questions, but I've found in this brief trip of what you are able to see, at least those of you that are mortal, to be able to have free choice and free will of your own. There's always more questions. What can I do? What would this do? What if I don't do this? And seeing those answers firsthand was interesting, to say the least.
Can we win? Can we prevent Tiamat's return?
With that, he looks kind of directly towards you, Max, and nods once. He says, I and others believe that you can. Think you can win all of this. Stop the end of times, as it very well will be if you do fail. Otherwise, we wouldn't trust you to go forward.
Then, please, send me back. So we can finish this.
That, you see Vlagan nodding. He glances around at the rest of you. Anyone else have anything you would like to ask? Very well.
Do I have to change how I tell people the way I got my sword now?
Well, if anything else, this may be a more interesting story for you to tell.
This could just be the sequel.
How I Got My Sword, Part 2. The Reckoning. Well, if you have nothing else, I dare say that it was a pleasure getting to know all of you and interacting you with. Seems like so long ago, yet not long at all, when we met in that one city. I gave you some potions, which had some interesting results, or sorry, concoctions, as I called them then. Well, no matter. Go forward knowing that not only are you believed in by your allies and by all of these people that you've come to know and the ones that you have not, know that I, for what it's worth, which ultimately is not much, but I do believe in you as well. I think that only you have a chance of stopping what could happen. I look forward to seeing what does eventually happen. With that, he raises a single hand as he kind of waves you off. As he does that, you all see the light enveloping you once more, seeming to take over and blind you. As it blinds, you all feel this mild yet very noticeable burning sensation. And you feel it beginning to alleviate. And then in the center of your chest, deep in your lungs, you feel this burning sensation returning. And it's fierce, and you fight against it, trying to figure out what's causing it, as it's just becoming mind-numbingly painful. But then you take a breath. Your eyes open. All of you find yourselves surrounded by people. As you start to open your eyes, gathering your wits, everything's still very fresh in your mind as to what just transpired. You start to gather information about your surroundings. You see heavily armored individuals, all wearing different insignia, different sigils of gods of protection and law. You recognize these as clerics, most of them old and grizzled, but all of them sharing one trait. All of them have the closed gauntlet of the Order of the Gauntlet implanted on their breastplates. As you continue to look around, you see that you're in a room. It looks somewhat ornate for it. You recognize it as something probably in the Palace of Waterdeep. Seeing that it's a large room, kind of a bunk area, where you've all been placed. And you see all of these clerics standing over each of you, sweating with exertion, as it seems that they have been through a long trial, probably to bring you back to the mortal coil. As you all start to regain consciousness one after another, you see that there are two other familiar faces in here. You see Anthar Froom standing and commanding and ordering the ones that have finished their processes, these clerics, to rest as they all start to collapse from the fatigue. You also see Laeral Silverhand, the open Lord of Waterdeep, standing at the all. Her complexion not changed, still the stoic serenity that you've always seen upon her face. As you gather your wits, sitting up as best you can, you see that your wounds have healed. There are scars. You see burn marks across most of your bodies in a few places, though some of them have been healed. But the scars of that final run-in with Zayseed are showing. After a few moments of collecting yourself, Anthar addresses you all as you all sit up out of your cots, raising yourselves up as you find yourselves fully healed, but very fatigued, as the resurrection spell has been cast upon all of you. With that, Anthar addresses you all, says, "Well, it's good to see you all back. Thought we had lost you for a while. Is everything all right?"
As good as it can be now. What of the attack?
And where were you guys? We could use some help.
With that, you see Anthar raising up and kind of scratching the back of his head. Says, "Well, the field ward has been, well, I won't put it lightly, it's been somewhat decimated from the attack. There were a few hundred cultists that infiltrated the field ward during that parade. This damned fool thing looking back for us to do that, it gave them the perfect opportunity to launch that surprise attack upon us. But hindsight and all that, we would have loved to assisted you during their fight, especially after learning that you had taken on all of the dragons involved with the assault by yourself. But, as I said, there were many other skirmishes happening, and honestly, if not for the quick rallying of some of the nearby troops from the armies, it would have been far worse. The dragon ward on the city would have stopped the dragons, but the cultists could have assaulted further. So, it took us some time to catch up where you were, and, well, we found you after everything had happened, unfortunately. We did find, we think, the last enemy you saw, at least, this large red dragon. It was
Zayseed.
Yes, that damnable creature. It stayed by and assaulted and destroyed a few more blocks before we started to drive it away. For some reason, we were launching spells and attacks at it, and when it landed once among our groups, it took out 15 or so of my men before we were able to start driving it back. But no matter what we did, it never seemed to slow or weaken, fatigue for some reason. We were able to figure it out, but something was foul afoot with that dragon. He did finally retreat, though, as we started to finish off the cult members that were staying behind. Many did flee further into the city or outward, and we are actively looking for any remnants here in the city to prevent another attack, but, well, in the day since we started trying to bring you back, we've done a decent job, I think, of taking them off. It's
How long has
dark
it been?
time. That, he thinks, says, we brought you back immediately as the attack was still ongoing, but I had some of my men bring you back here to the palace, and we immediately started trying to bring you back. We couldn't lose you, not now. I hope you understand. But I can't explain it. They said that something was stopping them, preventing them from bringing you back, and they kept trying. And he kind of motions to these 5 clerics that are pretty much passed out for the most part on the wall. He says they kept going with it. They could feel your souls wanting to return, but something kept stopping them. And they feared the worst, as did I, that you were being prevented. But then, as we were about to give up hope, you returned to us. It's been more than a day since the attack.
It seems we have friends that extend past this realm. We were delayed, but for good reason. I'm sorry that it put so much strain on you and your men.
With that, you see Anthar churning over your words for a few moments, and then he just shakes his head and nods. He says, I won't ask too many questions. I think it's safer that way, but either way, I'm glad that you've returned and come back because, well, while you succumbing to that dragon and your injuries and passing from this realm, now that you're back, the silver lining of your passing, I suppose, is that, well, the cult thinks you're dead. That could be greatly used in our favor.
Perhaps we should maintain that advantage as long as possible.
And as you say that, you see him nodding, and as he's about to speak, you see Laeral Silverhand stepping forward as she moves up next to Anthar and kind of nods to each of you. She begins to speak and says out loud, says, yes, that is what I planned as well. See, now that this has happened, and while it was unfortunate, not to take anything away from your trials, from your pain, but if we continue with our plan as was prepared, we initially planned to assault the cults directly, with the armies and our might combined, with you leading the charge. But I think now, with your death in their eyes, their greatest singular threat out of the way, we can use you elsewhere. That she thinks, and kind of seeing Stone Skull stepping up and wobbling a bit, all of you feeling very drained. The after effects of this spell, leaving your bodies very weak compared to their normal capacity. It's going to take some time to heal and recuperate. She nods to herself and says, well, we have a plan, and we'll explain it further to see if you're interested in carrying it out for this, though I think based on your recent exploits you will be. But before then, I think it's best if you all rest. You can remain here in the palace. I would advise to do so at least for a day. Let things settle down in case there are more cult spies keeping an eye on things in the city. But after that, I think it's best we talk about what your role should be in this coming fight. Also, I would take some time after resting to prepare. We are accelerating our plans slightly. I'm going to help on the front lines myself with these teleportation circles and expedite their creation. In 2 days, we will begin marching the armies forth to start our assault on the well.
Yes, I believe we'll need some time to prepare ourselves as well. But we will be ready for this. We've come too far to turn away now.
Alright. So with that, Laeral nods to you and kind of turns to Anthar, kind of placing a hand on his shoulder, and he looks up at her and nods. Says, well, we'll leave you to it then. Feel free to use these quarters. They're far and away from anywhere else. No one will disturb you here. If you do set out on the city, I advise to take some cloaks and such with you. Protect yourselves. Once again, the secret of your death and resurrection needs to be held for as long as possible. Not that I want to keep you cooped up. I know, unfortunately, how bad that can be. With that, you see him kind of grimacing as he says that and nods to you all before turning under Laeral's leave. You see the clerics that were starting to fall asleep start to struggle to their feet and being helped up by Onthar and Laeral are escorted out of the room, and they shut the heavy, ornate oak door behind them, leaving you alone in the room. As that happens, I need everybody to give me perception checks.
Oh.
Huh.
I actually rolled a good perception check
Yeah, you did.
without having to check the box.
Okay. Alrighty, so as you're all sitting there beginning to collect yourselves and resting, once again, resurrection causes you to have a -4 to all of your checks and such for the foreseeable future. Every long rest that you take lowers that by 1. So you're all feeling pretty weak right now. That being said, as you start to look around, you see your belongings have been brought to this room with your bodies when you were lifeless, unfortunately. Maximilian, you notice among your other things, your weapon, the antagonist and such. You see the small book that seems to your eyes, and your eyes alone, seeming to radiate some light from within it. As you pick it up, opening it up, you see the first 2 chapters, or the verses rather, that were there before, still remain. Then you see the 3rd verse, titled My Atonement, My Reclamation, that didn't have anything below it, materializes some writing.
Oh man, in the book?
In the book, in your mysterious tome. So feel free to start reading that. Who's next? Stone Skull. Stone Skull, as you look around at your personal belongings and such, you see that your clothes, or what little clothing you wear, your cloak and such was taken off, and as you're pulling it back on, you see it was covering your sword, Gleam Edge. Or you're pretty sure that's Gleam Edge. You're looking at the blade, and you see that there's now this red crimson tint all the way down the blade. And what appears to be a golden topaz is inset now in the hilt. You can feel the power radiating off of it, and as you pick it up, you feel that same warm presence of Gleam Edge's mind touching yours. Though he doesn't say anything, you get a feeling for what has changed. I have a new handout. So which one is it? Yeah, everything's going to be at the top for this, just so it's easier for y'all to find. So you see Gleam Edge in his final form. Moving right along with this, Ignalia. Searching your stuff, much like the others, you notice a change in your weapon that you've used for quite some time. This sword of burning devotion that has augmented your abilities and allowed you to take the power within yourself and project it outwards or even inwards into the sword itself. And as promised, as you pick it up, you see the shimmering of the blade as it begins to change. No longer possessing really the fiery outward emotion that you've always felt from the blade, assumingly coming from yourself, but now somewhat calm serenity, as the blade is now silverish and with a blue diamond inset into the hilt.
I'm going to pick it up very reverently.
Okay, and as you do so, you feel the new power emanating from it. It begins to glow when you feel yourself surrounded by your own power, but now projected out of you as this aura surrounds you while holding the blade.
I remember my manners and I ask Tyranny how he's doing.
Oh, you're awake! Excellent! I was getting rather bored.
Yes, you let them hit me a few too many times.
Well, The irony is not perfect, you know. That was my first time with something so large hitting me. I do apologize. I hope no sore feelings about it.
Oh, I'm plenty sore, but not at you.
Not your feelings.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
no,
Terra.
this is not my fault.
Yeah.
Ignore your handout for your little things, just because I'm not going to edit that. But you will now see a new character sheet as you hold up this small golem, feeling Mr. Pebbles' presence within it. You feel contentness, satisfaction, maybe happiness at being held by you. These very basic emotions that you can tell are somewhat human in their nature, though not fully sentient. But you feel that it's moving that way. As you will now see, editable by you, and in everybody's. Hell, are you? There you are. Everybody's journal. You'll now see Mr. Pebbles in his final form.
Yeah.
He's now Senor Pebbles.
Senor, Sir Pebbles. Change a couple things real quick on his token, actually.
I'm reading.
Yeah, go for it. Feel free to tell people about it if you want to.
Is his name
I'm leaving this all
Senor
up to you
Slab
all.
now?
It is Mr. Pebbles' final form, but HP. Ooh, I forgot to change something. C needs to be adjusted. There we go. Okay. All right, now it's final form. So Mr. Pebbles is a little bit better than he was before. And finally, finally? Are we at the bottom? Yeah, Rogard, the frickin' rogue. All right. You look and see that out of all of the weapons here, yours has changed the most. I apologize for not having a better picture, but I did the best what I could. You see, instead of this white crystalline blade of your rapier, it is changed. It is now not quite solid black. It's not this empty feeling as you lift up the gentleman once again, but this off gray kind of color to it, kind of symbolizing how things happen with you. Very mundane, but yet always full of its own kind of emotion, but always in streaks of gray. Final form. Gentleman now. You can see at the very bottom, right above the last thing of text, what it does now with its final form upgrade. So, all of you realizing your new powers are what you now have control over, to some degree, varying degrees amongst the party. But all of you feel a bit stronger, a bit more prepared for things to come, a bit more ready for this final fight. Along with having to rest for a while, but during this time, as you regain your senses, this not near death, this death experience has made you stronger and more
Post-death
experienced.
experience.
This actual death experience. You all hit level 14.
Man, if I knew dying would level me up, I would have done it sooner.
Just waiting on
Alright,
all of you to do
so-
it. I mean, shit.
So now what? We're systematically just going to start killing each other and resurrecting each other?
This is
right.
how it works,
Right.
yes!
Oh, man.
Yeah, sorry.
It's like
All
that
your
South
clerics
Park
are tapped
episode
out.
where the baseball teams want to lose instead of win.
We're tanking.
Alright, so that's
Yeah, exactly.
nice.
Thank you.
Now I gotta figure out.
As
Am I?
Tony
Yes.
Stark and Doctor Strange say, we are in the end game now. So,
Do I actually want to roll a hit die?
as y'all level up and such, I am going to step away and refill my water. As my
I-
throat hurts, so I'll be right back.
No. So, Havoc,
I
did you
want-
actually hand out item pages? Because I didn't get one.
Yeah. Good.
I...
Totally have one at the very top of your
Oh,
handouts.
okay. I thought it automatically appeared when you got something new.
No, if I hit show to players, it shows it to everybody, so.
Okay. Alright.
I
I
want
rolled
you to
a,
make
I
the
rolled a
choice.
1. I'm going to
Oh.
re-roll one time,
Yeah,
Havoc.
you can re-roll one time, yes.
Yeah.
26. All right,
Plus
BRB.
2. You take tough.
Mhm. Oh, I love
Guys,
this.
I broke 100 health.
I love this ability.
There you go.
I am proud of you.
I need to summon Mr. Pebbles to find out if I still have to bonus action command him or if he's smart enough.
That's my I don't think you're going anywhere ability. Yeah, that's all I get. And a lot of hit points, but...
Alright, I'm back.
Holy fuck. That's with weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And those were both 19s.
Yeah, you rolled 219, so. Like I said, y'all in the end game now. Enjoy your power fantasy.
So, Havoc,
Mm-hmm.
since Mr. Pebbles is sentient now, do I have to command him with a bonus action?
No, I mean, you'll still have to command him with a bonus action. He's still a construct of yours, but
Okay.
he is gaining sentience, essentially. Your powers have started to give this construct sentience.
I lost half of the damage from Rend, but I gained the Vorpal ability, and if I can't chop
No one of you is still
something's
kind
head
of in the
off-
dark, but I hope the rest of you have enjoyed my little attempt at making full homebrew items. This is the end game. This is what they're going to be.
If
Y'all
I
wanna know
can't
about Mr.
actually,
Pebbles?
yeah, if I can't actually chop something's head off,
I think he has more health now. I think
it
he was
will
at,
then
like, 10,
deal
so he did
68
he's
slashing.
almost doubled his or
So,
over doubled his health.
and I need to add that on here too, because just a casual 68 slashing.
So how does the dice roll work on that? Just every time he gets to roll it, or does it cost an action? What
On which, every beginning of every turn.
just happens?
Yeah.
Okay, so just D6 at the beginning of every turn.
Yep.
Does the 68's a straight 68, right? It's not plus proficiency, correct?
It is correct, yeah. It's not plus anything else. It's just straight 68 extra damage. Oh,
Yep.
I am nerfing that ever so slightly,
Yeah.
Soren.
No.
Not you.
Okay.
Soren's.
Sorry.
Wait, where's the... Oh, shit. Boop.
So,
It's not a 5 or 6, it's just a 6.
just a casual.
Not much difference, but I have to try to balance at least a little bit. But you saw the one thing I did change on Blame
A
Watch,
casual
so
27 if I crit.
already fixed, so that works out.
Holy frick. So now begs the question.
Mm.
Can we hunt down the we need to find the Xanathar. Or not Xanathar, the Zentarum. Because they owe us some stuff.
Ready for that? I was so excited to finally get y'all's final items. I don't know if I planned for that or not. I planned for that. Shit, where's my notes?
I know it says 1 or more creatures, but I mean, if you can see 17 creatures,
I have a limit on it, doesn't it?
no, it didn't have an upper limit.
Oh, it's within 10 feet, so it's limited by that.
Okay.
Let's see. Yes, I did prepare for that.
Oh, cool.
Kinda. Mostly. I got the important stuff out of the way. Let's go with that.
So yeah, that's the only... aside from tracking them down, I think at this point it's just rest and recover as much as we can.
I was over here getting distracted by Mr. Pebbles on finish leveling.
I mean, I'm going to take that as a good thing.
Yeah.
We're satisfied with what I have done.
Mm-hmm.
Is a longsword considered a finesse weapon?
We're level 14.
Yes.
No, it is
No.
versatile. It's not finesse. It is versatile, though. You can use it one-handed or two-handed, but it uses strength.
Mm-hmm. That it does.
Bork, 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 bork.
Bark, bark. Bark, bark.
I think they would stop putting the dogs together if they're gonna fight all the time, but no.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
That would make sense.
guys.
Okay, I
Guys, check
think
it out.
I'm ready. Yeah. Yeah, it's but I don't really have to worry about that because I have so many other abilities that I don't think I need to really be too concerned, like at this point, trying to get to that level. I mean, that's our last level anyways, so we're not going any higher than this. So, we'll see.
Willie, yours is the only one that's pretty ambiguous. But I would definitely pay attention to that last section.
Yeah. Oh. I read it very carefully.
I'll go bold some stuff if I have to. Do what now? Sorry?
What should I change on the back row for the gentleman? So it's me. So
It should have a spot. Think. Closed it. Let me open it. It would be crit range. I think you do it this way. Shit. Think. I'm gonna roll a bunch. 1 second. Do it so I'm not spamming the chat. I want it to toggle. There we go. 4. Alright, let's see if we can get a crit. Get 2. What? Oh no, that's not right.
I hear a cat. Anybody else hear the cat?
It's just
cat.
team. Aha, yep, that'll do it. So it's set now.
I also wish they
And keep in mind that happens for all your abilities and everything, so everything will be doubled.
I wish they improved and allowed us to click to long rest on
And the
roll 20. That's something else I missed.
the second effect also is affected by that last one. Still a critical hit. All the final abilities are pretty straightforward. They were essentially what I started off with your characters having, and then I worked towards that, so. Except for Rogar's and Max's. Those kind of evolved over the entirety of the campaign.
Hooray. Alright, I think I have everything. I think. If I got one more level, I would get my third attack. Which would be so terrifying.
A couple more things I gotta work on, but
Can you imagine, guys? 3 attacks, like, all the time from Stone Skull, turning to 4 with that. Just, Mm-hmm. Yep, and with Action Surge. Just, terrifying. Yeah. Don't mind me, just gonna start swiping away.
Yeah, I should be done now.
okay. No rush as you're going on. I'll do a little bit more narration and stuff when y'all get done, but bet y'all take the reverie of your final level up of the campaign.
I mean, if you'll let us die and level up again, I'd be
Just be like,
okay.
"Hey,
I
let's
would
hit
be
20."
okay with another extra attack.
I have gone through and rebalanced the ending of this thing so many times. Don't make me do it again.
Uh-oh.
I'll cry. I will cry.
I get to just do seven extra damage on all my spells now.
How are we looking, guys? Is everybody pretty much ready?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if we are not, and you guys aren't ready, then I can send us to a 5-minute break. I just feel bad that, you know.
What, it's 7:30? Yeah, let's go ahead and just do our break real quick and
Do the break?
get it out the
Okay.
way. Yeah, because I need to go to the restroom again anyway. So.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to step away, take a 5-minute break, get something to drink, come back. We're going to figure out what kind of magic items we're getting. I'm hoping Stone Skull is getting the Belt of Frost Giant Strength or something along that line, or Cloud Giant was what we were finding. So I'm hoping that's coming. We're going to stop and take 5 minutes, though, and then when we come back, we'll get back to it, so don't go anywhere.
On your turn, so.
All right, ready when you are.
Alrighty. So, how long do y'all plan on chilling here and waiting?
It's gonna take, what, a day, right?
Need to go see a potion maker.
Yeah, so that's definitely on that list. We gotta find potions. Stone Skull is probably not going to do much of anything for a while. I think honestly, during this day, if he's out, the only time that he would really be out, because he's very highly visible because of just how big he is. So he's trying not to be seen out in the streets.
Makes sense.
So he'll stay back and probably just rest as much as possible. So, like, literally doing next to nothing the whole time.
Okay. So you've all been told that the armies will be
In 2
marching
days.
forwards in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, after a a bit of, investigation and stuff, that it's about midday, the day after the attacks. They were all at work overnight and such, trying to bring you back, and ultimately were able to about midday. So you have the rest of this day, the next, and then on the day after that is when everything will be moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So, during this day and a half, essentially, that you're having time to do stuff, if there's anything specific you would like to try to go procure, you can either go yourself or have envoys go out for you, so that you can... Once again, it seems very important to the council that you do not be discovered that you are still alive, so they're willing to go get stuff for you and things like that.
I'm going to suggest all of us hang tight. Send other people out when we shouldn't be seen.
Yep.
Can't risk it. We don't know how many of the cultists were rounded up, how many melded back, and decided they were able to seamlessly integrate themselves into the general population, and hundreds of them for this attack. We can't risk being seen by anyone.
And yeah, so Stone Skull's doing, like I said, nothing. I don't have any gold either, so I can't even go out to buy potions because I spent all of that last time. I spent everything I had.
Rogar
Yeah, we
sends someone to go get his goddamn arrows that I bought him.
Yeah, I have money. How much money do I have? Tara shoves her hand in and starts filling around.
And probably want to send word to the Zentarum agent to try to get some information from them.
This is what I have. We need to talk to Joe, see if the bar's made any money.
And I need to have a conversation with Ignalia about using that sword of hers. The Dragon Slayer sword.
Gotta remember, it's only been one more day of profits. You're probably not gonna get much out of Joe in the tavern, unfortunately.
Well, and pull all of our
Sorry,
resources
Scott just
together.
said, I got this.
Pretty much.
Yep. Drinks are on me, boys.
If y'all have a shopping list, you can instruct people to retrieve the things, and then you can pay off the tab that they accumulate. So, if you want to write one up or just tell me, I can tell you how much it's ultimately going to cost. Most of the items I'm sure you're seeking out, if it's just basic healing potions, such, you'll be able to find them. Anything a bit more specific, as always, maybe a little bit harder to get hold of.
Yeah, it's all about healing.
Yep.
Ignalia, you need to spend all that money on healing potions.
Every penny.
Everybody's like, healing potions,
Every
healing
drop
potions,
of it.
please.
Lots of them. Lots and lots of them.
Alright, so within
let's
reason.
see.
We can't have enough.
I mean, can we do this like as if we were shopping, but
Basically, take one of your little bags of holding, put all our money into it, hand it to an envoy, and be like, raid the town. We
if
want
you
every
don't
drop
come
and
back with
everything that's
items, we'll
available.
find you. Because I
And
handed
dragons
back
won't be
with
the-
like multiple
drag-
lifetimes of money.
Dragons won't be the only thing you have to fear in this lifetime.
So, without spending any of your gold, as you, excuse me, as you call for an envoy or an envoy, with the purpose of seeking out healing potions, anything else you're looking for?
Or scrolls.
Rolls, okay.
I don't know. +1 plate, maybe?
A little hard to get a hold of that.
Yeah.
Nope, I can't think of anything.
Alright. So, you come to find out from the envoy, who is actually just another soldier, one of the other members of the Order of the Gauntlet, that seem to be here to watch over you, make sure if you need anything, you're taken care of.
A lowly member of the Order of the Gauntlet.
Yeah, you come to find out that there's a war about to happen. There are several armies stationed outside Waterdeep. There are no more healing potions. There are no more scrolls. Those have been either bought, taken, confiscated for the war effort, and such. You do know that some have been started to be set aside for you, however. So.
Well, can we buy a cleric?
We just buy a cleric.
Just have somebody that's going to follow
put
us
him on
around and
retainer.
heal us, please.
So we'll see. Okay.
Listen,
one person.
This is what's going to happen. About every 10 seconds or so, one of us is going to drop and you're going to healing word from about 120 feet away. Do you understand me?
This is your task.
all
Every
you do.
time
make
you
you
bring our
invisible.
ass back, I
You'll
will
stay
pay you
there.
100 gold.
Just need to find the cleric rogue multi-class dude in the corner. All right.
With some spell.
One person I need to roll a d100.
Who's going to do it?
I will. I'm maxed on my health roll, so.
Incoming 2.
Tactical 3 coming.
Nice.
Ooh,
It's you. Okay.
nice.
Said 92, didn't I? I did.
Did you?
I did.
All right. So, for the party, your stash for your mission, should you choose to accept it, will be
Supreme? Holy F.
Do those come in like IV form?
just hook me up. I'm gonna need this.
Hey, I'm gonna pour all these into a camelback.
Just
Have the straw right to my straw to my mouth the whole time, just clenched in my teeth, just sucking on it.
Right, like the fight's a little bit ridiculous mechanically when on every 6 seconds this person pulls out another red Gatorade and dumps it on his face.
I used a lot of potions in that last fight. I'm just
Heck
saying.
yeah, we did.
Can we just bathe in it the night before and get temp HP?
Just gonna roll around in it. It's fine. What are you doing? Why is that river red? What happened there? No, it's fine.
Just coating the inside of our armor with it, like, soaking all our clothes in it.
Okay, so 2 Supremes, 4 Superiors, 6 Greater, and 10 Basic. So, how do you guys want to split it?
I mean, my thought is Stone Skull, you and Ignalia get the Supreme. I mean, you're the ones that are up in the business the most frequently. But if you take a Superior too, I mean, I'm good on the low end stuff because I got a lot of healing ability. So give a Superior to everyone but me.
I have 4 regular potions, so
My count left after that is 1 greater and 5 regular.
I got 3 regular, 2 greater.
I have 4 regular, and the Supreme that you just mentioned.
So that's my thought. You two take the Supreme. Everybody but me take a superior. Everybody take a greater, and I'll take 2 of those.
Okay.
However we want to break down the last 10. I mean, I don't have any, so I mean, I'll take. I feel like you just want to. Who else doesn't have any regular potions? Just Rogar?
No, I have 4.
Same.
Alright. So then everybody take a regular, and then I'll take the remainder of the regulars. So everybody take 1, I'll take 6.
I don't know what you allotted, but if I've got 3 regular, I don't want any more of those.
Yeah, I mean, we really won't. That's what I'm saying, I'll take the rest of them.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll take a superior and a supreme, and I
Holy
should be fine with that. I don't need any more.
10d4
I'll take one of the
plus
graders, too.
20.
Just to be safe.
Alright.
Alright, so you get handed your rationing for the war effort ahead of you.
Did that cost money, or was that set aside
Nope.
for us?
That is the war effort right there, paid by the council.
War bonds, nice.
Yeah. Alright.
Did
So-
anyone want that ring? Ring of evasion. I feel like anyone who would want it is already good at dex saves.
Yeah, I don't need it.
I mean, give it to Terra. You can use it, right?
Is it attunement required?
Yes, it is.
How many can we have attuned?
3.
3.
And I have 3.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wait, I'll take
spend
it.
your reaction and get you pass. Spend your reaction and pass a dex save
Oof.
with 3 charges on it.
I mean, I'll take it, I only have 2.
Okay. Ring of evasion is yours.
Greater healing is 44. Plus 4.
Yes.
Get spell.
Look at all those 4s on that. Holy shit.
I don't have a handout for the Ring of Evasion? I guess not.
There were 4
It's just
4s
straight from
and
the
2 3s
poker,
on that
so.
roll.
Cool.
Insane.
Add it real quick so you have a handout. That's weird. I remember giving it out, but I guess I just never actually handed it out. Alright. Max has that now, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't know.
so
So is the reaction?
What am I spending this money on, guys?
Nothing, I guess. I don't think.
I mean, I'll send someone out, but he said it's going to be unlikely I get armor.
yeah. Further magic items are going to be tough to find in the city under the war effort.
Oh, I want someone to go pick up that package I had set out for the day before.
Yeah, just reaching out to the Zent's room.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
No, the cloak I had made too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Alright. So yeah, you can send out, have stuff brought back to you. It's brought back the first day. You also send out word to discreetly let the Zentarum know that you still expect your bargain to be paid for what you traded for Zonthal's tower to go into their possession. The day goes by without incident. You rest as best you can. You're able to all get a long rest in, taking one of the negatives off of your exhaustion, kind of your resurrection exhaustion. So you're at -3 on all attack and ability checks and saving throws. The second day comes as you're all starting to feel a bit cramped. You find yourself wandering around the halls of this kind of somewhat abandoned but very quiet area of the palace. As you all meet back up for lunch, however, about midday, food being delivered to you. You see that everyone's the people around you and such are the same guards, and they kind of let you know what's going on. That the armies are being mobilized and set up. All of the conscripts are being rushed through their training, so that at least they know which end to stab somebody with their swords. Things of that nature are going on outside, while you're stuck inside right now, keeping your secrets.
I'm also going to be using Greater Restoration on us while we rest.
Okay. Yeah, you can take one level of it off with that.
Yeah, try to expedite the process, specifically on Stone Skull and Dignalia.
Is Anthar around during this time?
Okay.
Yeah, he does stop by actually, to check on you all, make sure.
Probably say hi to Dad.
So yeah, as lunch is delivered, Anthar actually strolls into the room during this. That as he walks forward, kind of looking at you all and kind of nodding to himself and nodding to the two guards who head back out into the hallway, shutting the door behind them. He looks at you all, kind of taking a seat on one of the lavish couches next to the tables. Says, "Well, I suppose you're all looking better than you did. How are you? Is everything all right? Are you being treated well?"
Well, we're breathing.
It is an improvement.
Eager to see this through to the end now. I sense it's coming.
Daddy nods and says, "Well, the men aren't as trained as we wanted them to be. The conscript that have arrived from different areas and such are still being trained and will continue to do so as we head out on the road before we arrive at these teleportation circles that I've been told about. But alas, we'll make do with what we have. Were you ready to hear a little bit more about the plan that we've cooked up?"
Yeah, lay it on us.
Henry. With that, Anthar nods as well. With the unfortunate news of your demise being allowed to spread, we're doing nothing within the city to quell that. There are, I suppose you'd be happy to know, there are some vigils and memorials being set up for the scales. Your tavern has been assaulted. That poor gentleman named Joe, who's running it right now, is no shortage of customers, so that's good, I suppose. Seemed kind of upset about it when I spoke to him, but alas, we can't let anyone know, even your closest friends, that you are alive, so we're allowing that to continue for the time being. But with all of this news spreading, I think that it'll be very likely that the cult will not realize that you've been brought back. And that is what we're going to use to our advantage. See, some of our scouts that have been able to see either through magical means or through personal observation, some of the more keen-eyed folk out there, they're able to look at the Well of Dragons itself. It's just monumentous, just huge volcano, but dormant as far as we can tell, though it seems like it could erupt at any time based on all the activity around there. There's dragons constantly patrolling all around the well itself, but we've been able to see close enough that along the side of the mountain, from the western edge where we plan to make our assault and where their soldiers are amassing, well, there's some tunnels, some entrances that seem to be present there. We think, if we've got all the distances right, that we'll have you be accompanied by several mages and wizards who will be able to instantly teleport you straight from the front lines to one of these cavern entrances. We believe, based on what we've researched and such about the well itself, that through these tunnels, though it may be in a bit of a roundabout way, but you may be able to venture through them and get to the source of this all, where this ritual seems to be taking place. Some disturbing news, unfortunately, that is spreading from this too. It seems that the cults didn't stop with taking the treasures of the Sword Coast for this hoard that they kept talking about. They've also been taking people lot of these towns that we thought everyone was slaughtered within, we've seen prisoners being taken into the well through these passageways. I think that's, well, dire cause of it would be sacrifices, I'd assume. Which is what we're assuming. Assume the worst and you won't be pleasantly disappointed, I suppose. So, that is our plan. We plan to send you straight into the well so that you can assault it from within while we do our best to distract them outside with our war effort.
So we will, we'll spend every ounce of our energy in our lives to prevent this, because I know you will in the fight on the outside.
You see him nodding. As I would hope so. I really don't doubt your qualities when it comes to doing this. I just wish that we could send more to help you, but we're strapped for good men as it is, and I think it's going to take all of us to even try to stop this assault that's going to happen and try to match them. They have more dragons than us by far. We have strong allies with the metallic dragons, but they have numbers. It's going to take all of our effort just to hold them at bay, much less this army of mercenaries and cultists and Thayan wizards and even things that have come from the pits of hell, I think, have been spotted among their ranks as well. Going to be a fight, but I think we could take them. Now, if the ritual succeeds, however, I don't think any army on this land or beyond would be able to stop what comes through. So, we leave that to you.
We will stop it. We have to. Just kind of, nodding and, solemn note. Just, there's no more time to waste, is there?
With that, you see Anthar nodding, says, time is not on our side currently, unfortunately, but I think we'll have enough. No changes seem to have been happening at the well yet, but with our spies and such, we know something's coming, something big. We think the ritual is going to start very soon. And honestly, that's the biggest driving force with us expediting this process and not waiting another 10 day or so before setting off. We want to get there before, or at least as this ritual is starting, so that we can send you in to stop it.
Just as we have spies, we must assume that they have spies as well. The only advantage we have now is surprise. Hopefully it holds as long as it can.
Then he nods, says, not many know about your resurrection. Not even all of the council knows. So, a few members are aware of it, obviously, but we've kept that secret close, and we plan to continue doing so until the pivotal moments, so that, hopefully, you'll have the complete element of surprise when the time comes. That is the goal here.
After the fight, what happened to Bear Friend?
With that, you see Anthar looking at you, kind of a blank expression on his face, and then realization kind of pops into his eyes. He's like, oh, yes, your very large bear. It wouldn't leave your side until we brought you to the palace. We kept swearing that we were going to save you, going to heal you, and, well, it waited, thank goodness. It would have been kind of awkward trying to bring a bear through the palace, but, after the first few hours and such, and seeing that, for whatever reason, you were being delayed on your return, I had some of my men escort him back to your home. I hope that was the correct thing to do. As far as I know, he should still be there at the guild hall.
Stoneskull will just nod.
That Anthar nods, says,
Do you think that's where he should stay?
He nods again.
That Anthar looks over, says, "If you want us to retrieve him when we set off, I can. It's not that big of an issue, but that is your call, of course."
No, he needs to stay behind. I feel taking him into the well is a mistake, and not one that I'm willing to make, personally.
Anthar, nodding once again slowly and a bit solemnly, says, "Very well. Well, now looks around at everybody stopping your eating your food to talk and everything. He says, "Oh, don't let me hold up on your lunch." He kind of looks over. "Ignalia, if you don't mind, I have business in the next room over with someone, but after you're done eating, if you could visit me for a few moments, I won't take too much of your time, of course."
I think she probably just asks, how did the armor hold up?
You see that he has taken the armor off for more of his regular duty armor and such, but he raises a corner of his mouth with a smirk. Says, "It's proved very useful compared to what I normally wear. And it looked mighty fine, or looked fine as well compared to my normal drab armor."
No, we needed to get you something that matched that, well, rather blatant blue gauntlet.
Then he kind of looks down and shrugs. Says, "I wear it because they tell me to. You know this."
I know this. I'll be over there after I have a few more bites.
Daddy nods and stands up, nodding to each of you in turn. Says, "Very well. I will seek you out in the morning when we're preparing to leave. We have a clever little trick, I think, that will assist us with keeping your secret safe while we're traveling. So look forward to that." That he bows ever so slightly and then exits out of the room. As he's exiting, you hear the door stays open for a few moments and you hear some murmuring and such, and then a bit of an exasperated sigh, obviously coming from Froome, and he pushes with one hand the door back open, and you see a familiar face walking into the room past him. You see this tiefling that you've met before, still well dressed, still a bit of a playful smirk on her mouth as she walks into the room with a small bag at her hip. As she walks in, she looks around and shakes her head and says, "Well, I had assumed all of you had died in what had happened, and it turns out you actually did, from what I learned. It is good to see you back among the living, though, I will admit that."
I'm not going to try to give us some shtick about contracts being void upon death.
With that, she shrugs an arm. She says, "If we had done a formal contract, that might have been true, actually, and I wouldn't have to have brought these items after seeking them out and then wresting them away from the war effort, too. These are very important items and very expensive. I do hope you appreciate the effort I went to obtaining them for you."
Not much of a response to that.
Yeah, Stone Skull's just kind of watching.
So with that, Rian just kind of reads the room and nods, says, "Well, very well, straight to business then." And steps forward. She pulls this small sack around to her front, opening it up, and you can clearly see that this is probably a handy haversack or a small bag of holding. As she reaches into it, she says, "As agreed, there were items for each of you." The first one she pulls out, you see this long belt. It's very thick, a good 8 inches or so in width. You see engraved kind of into the leather that's been worked into it, almost appear to be the cracks of rocks through them. Says this was the only one I could find in the city. It fetched quite a price, but I think it'll suit your means correctly. She holds out a belt of stone giant strength.
And Stone Skull
And
will
only assume going to Stone Skull.
reach out and grab it and kind of just a thankful nod, and then just kind of looks it over.
Forge. Go. Alright, Stone Giant Strike. Next, after handing that to Stone Skull, she says, I was able to find 2 of these. Once again, very expensive, but not as hard as some of the others. And she pulls out 2
Stone giant.
vials, potion bottles. As you're looking at them, it seems like the vials themselves are actually empty, but she kind of tilts it around and you can hear the slosh of liquid inside of it. And with that, she sets them on the table in front of you all. It says 2 potions of invisibility as promised.
23.
I take those and secure them in a pouch on my side with another, nod of thanks.
Mostly prepared. Not completely prepared, but it's fine. And going to Max. There you go. Alright, so there's that. With that, she nods as you take them. She reaches in and pulls out a somewhat old-looking piece of parchment that's rolled up, and she holds that out, kind of wobbling it in the air. Says, as agreed, as we said before, this potion of a very powerful spell, Earthquake. Sets that on the table.
That was going to me, right?
I think that was Terror.
I don't
No.
remember.
Scott's taking it.
Okay, that's what we decided on.
Mhm.
And I'll reach out and grab it.
With that, she reaches in, says, these last 2 were exceedingly difficult to obtain. Once again, I don't usually go this far out of the way, but, well, you've done a lot for this realm so far, and you did offer us something we desperately wanted, so I suppose it was only fair that I did my best to find them for you. She pulls out 2 items, one in each hand. The first one, you see this large cloak that seems to flitter and change as she's holding it and kind of moving it, even though her hand isn't moving, but the cloak seems to continually be in motion. She holds out a cloak of displacement. The other hand, she has something enclosed in her fist, but she opens it up, and you see a small ring. You see the ring itself is made of onyx or something of that nature. It's just solid black, but dotted all across it are red rubies that seem to radiate power.
Ooh. What is
She kind of
that?
looks over towards Ignalia. She offers the ring out, says, this ring fetched quite a price, and well, he wasn't very willing to part with it, but we were able to work out the deal, and I was able to obtain it for you.
Yes, I imagine it was, and I appreciate you handling the negotiations. And I grab the ring,
Indeed.
and like Thanos dropping a stone into the gauntlet, I slip it on.
It does require attunement, but there it is.
Oh, baby.
And I think it was Rogar taking the cloak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He needs to be harder to hit. For the love of everything that make me harder to hit. Alright, add this last item in there.
I
And
don't want to.
Rogar.
What ring did you get again, Scott? I can't remember.
I'll just post it into chat.
I can show it to everybody, it's fine.
Yeah, go ahead, do that.
Heavily reworked from the book of OP shit that I was trying to give him at the beginning without reading it first.
The Book of Godly Items, as Havoc once knew it.
5 charges. Oh, it does.
Still very
fire
powerful,
damage.
but not OP as it was before.
Oh.
Alright.
Allows you to cast.
So with that,
spells.
Rian Nightshade kind of nods to you all, swinging the bag back around to her hip. She says, well, it is a pleasure, and I do mean that genuinely, that
I was able to see you again among the living, and that, more so, our business has concluded. I think we'll be possibly seeing each other on the battlefield for things to come. We've been instructed to use our expertises in certain areas, namely those of assassination, to assist with the battle to come. I think you may see a few of their leaders mysteriously vanishing during the battle. It'll be quite amusing, I think. She nods to you all and says, a good day to you all, and good luck. As
Same
she
to you.
turns, moves out.
See you on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so with that, you find yourselves alone in the room once again. Lunch still mostly uneaten, so you can take a few minutes to do that as you're collecting your payment for Zonthal's Tower, transferring ownership officially from you to the Zentarum Guild.
Do we have somebody that can give us information about the Well of Dragons? Like what we're going into? Anything like that?
You could have somebody fetch for that kind of information, yeah. Somebody from the Harpers, probably.
Can Stone Skull's very curious to know kind of what we're up against going in. Like what resistance we'll have as soon as we get there. Is it all close quarters fighting? Are they large cavernous areas? Just, he's just trying to, just from a tactician standpoint, just trying to understand what they're about to go into.
Okay. So yeah, you can send off asking one of the guards to fetch somebody that has information. Little time goes by, and an agent of the Harpers, you don't recognize them, but you're able to recognize the small silver Harper pin that he has adorned to his chest. He walks into the room kind of nodding to each of you. Says, "It's a pleasure meeting all of you. I was told that you were seeking information about the well. I'm the one that's been predominantly carrying out research on it, so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them."
Stone Skull will look up at him and say, "You're going to drop us inside the well. We need to know what will be around us when we get there."
That the man thinks for a few moments. He says, "Well, I will preface anything I tell you that it is difficult to say exactly what you'll be facing. The inner workings of the well are largely unknown to us. We know general details and such, but nothing very specific. We know that the well itself is a volcano, as I'm sure you know. Inside of it, there's networks of tunnels and such that lead to different areas that the cult has been using for quite very many years for different activities and such. Up until recently, the well was mostly abandoned by the cult, but obviously they have retook it for their own means. Inside, as I said, you'll venture through several tunnels, if the plan is to go through as I have been instructed at least. Once you're inside, you'll move through them and try to find a way towards the center. The center of this well is, it's the inner workings of a cone of a volcano. It's a large, blown-out crevice from the last time it erupted, some centuries ago. It is a very large area from what we've been able to tell, several 100 feet across and high, if not larger than that. But inside there is what we're being told is where the main activity has been abuzz, where many of the Thayan wizards have been gathering. We can only assume for this ritual that is to take place. As far as enemies are concerned, it'll be things that I'm familiar or at least I think you're familiar with. There are going to be a great many cultists present within there. Inside as well, there have been talks of
devils reinforcing their troop, fiends and such. Several of ones that have these massive barbs on their bodies. There's some words that have been thrown around, some ancient protectors within the halls. Would think it would be best to avoid them if you can. Ones that he thinks for a moment. It's hard to give them credibility without concrete information, but if I was to tell you everything I've heard, there's been sightings of a very old cultist, one that used to lead it, perhaps. It's long since died and passed from this realm, but is still walking, an undead among them. Supposed to be the main protector of the tunnels within the well. Very unsavory customer, based on what I've been told. As far as in the well itself, well, that's is one place we've gathered very little information. We know that they and wizards are present. We know that chromatic dragons have been constantly flying over the well. They seem to be fighting and rallying for position for when this queen of the dragons is brought back. They seem mostly distracted by this, but it would not be surprising if they would notice you should you enter into the well unprepared, so something to keep in mind, I suppose.
The tunnels, how wide are they?
He thinks for a moment, says, looks down, you see him pulling out a small book and flips through a few pages. Most of them are decently wide, 10 to 15 feet, sometimes expanding further. We assume those were the ones used by dragons in ancient times, or Draco Liches. Some, I believe, can grow down as narrow as 5 feet. These tunnels, we believe, were created naturally by the volcano itself, where tubes of magma would flow through, but as of now, are only occupied by cultists.
Stone Skull will kind of look around and just kind of look to the group. I guess we have no choice but to go in silently. It would be foolish otherwise.
As quickly as we can. We might have to abandon that silence for speed.
There's no way we could feasibly bring a mountain for this. At least for myself, so we'll all be on foot. He'll kind of start looking around and just shrugs and says, I'm ready when you guys are ready to head in. I would like to rest a little more before we head forward, though.
You all know that it's going to take a few days to arrive at the well, regardless, so...
Okay.
Yeah, we, as soon as the forces are ready to move, and as soon as, we can leave, we should.
Stone Skull will look up at the Harper and kind of give him like a thinking kind of nod and say, I appreciate you giving the information to us. Anything that we can have should help us whenever we finally get there.
That he nods, says, of course, I am more than happy to help. I do apologize for the lack of concrete information. It's, even with our spies, it's difficult to get everything the way we want it to be, as far as backups and reaffirming of such, but... well, regardless, it's something, I suppose.
It's more than we had to begin with.
That he nods. Says, one more tidbit. I was able to glean in my research a bit of information regarding the tunnels themselves where you'll be dropped. The one that we're planning to aim for, there's several possibilities depending on how the battle progresses, but if we're lucky, There is one tunnel that seems to not be used by the cultists. We were able to gather that they think it has long since collapsed, and they haven't checked it since then. The entrance of it is open, they know it is, but within it there were rocks and debris and such carving or collapsed in a way. But for whatever reason, for some string of events or just a happy coincidence, they're gone. One of my spies was able to find this, and is where we plan to send you, so at least you have an unobtrusive entrance within there. But how you choose to proceed from there is going to be solely up to you.
What information do you have for us about, how far have your spies been down that tunnel?
With that, he looks down at his notes, says, I have a bit of notes there. They were able to investigate unimpeded by watchful eyes. The tunnel seems to lead a decent ways towards the center from the outside. A few hundred feet or so within it, though, it arrives at a sinkhole. The sinkhole is uninhabited. It drops down to nothing down below it, and that is why no one bothers to go down this tunnel. However, there are some branching pathways off of the tunnel itself that will lead you towards where the cultists are. I believe there are a few more less than occupied places along your path, but unfortunately that information can change on a whim. We're unaware of their constant movements. Our information relay is not that quick, unfortunately.
Stone Skull will again thank D. Harper for the information. And then kind of just at this point is like, he's done. He focuses on, he's going to eat as much food as possible because he doesn't know how much, when he's going to get another cooked meal.
Not a bad idea. That the Harper nods, says, if you need any more information today, please let me know. After that, I will be a bit busy, unfortunately, with preparations and plans, but I do wish you the best of luck. Nods to you all.
Just the last, we're going to be teleported there again, correct?
With that, he nods, says, yes, we have several wizards on standby to be around you whenever the time is right, and they will whisk you into this tunnel.
As long as they're nearby, events may unfold different than we've all planned. We need to make sure we're near them so we can get in as fast as possible.
That he nods, of course.
Well, again, Nod, thank him for his time and his service, the information. And go back to finishing the last bit of preparation.
Okay.
Nalia's gonna cram one last bit of food in her mouth, sigh, and then say, okay, I'm gonna go have a really awkward talk with Dad.
Enjoy your time. Who knows when we might see each other again.
Nod. Don't really say much to that, and just head next door.
Okay. So as the rest of you finish eating and such, and a bit of a somber silence, knowing what's ahead of you, and having a bit of a better idea what you'll be facing when you arrive at the Well of Dragons. Ignalia, you head one door over, politely knocking before opening it. Similar setup in the next room, though not quite as many bunks in this one.
Sorry about that, guys.
You see at the front of the room is a large desk where you see Anthar sitting, going over some paperwork, and as you enter, him facing towards you, he looks up and smiles as he stands up. Says, well, this is a bit awkward, I suppose. Since you set off and such on your adventures, leaving our ranks for the most part, we really haven't had much time to talk, unfortunately, and
I do admit that is mostly my fault. I've been so busy, and I do apologize for that, Ignalia.
Yeah, it's not your fault. Well, all of this cult business has just made things that way. It's no one's fault but theirs.
As you're talking, you see Antar stepping around the desk and such and walks towards you. And as you finish talking, Antar walks right up to you and just embraces you in a gigantic bear hug, kind of squeezing you a bit. Not forcefully, not breaking any bones, but it's a familiar feeling, one that you've felt many times before since you were younger and such, of the man that somewhat raised you, embracing you once again.
I'll hug him back and just kind of sigh a bit and just say, he didn't come for me in the end. Someone did, but it wasn't who I was hoping.
With that, as Antar pulls away from you and kind of sighs, says, it's the will of others, I suppose. We can't fault them for having their own free will, but can't really speak on such matters intelligently, unfortunately. I'm just an old man, and not a very smart one to boot, I suppose.
Kind of just hit him for talking that way, I guess.
Smiles, says, I do have to admit, I may have tried to pull you from this mission initially, whenever they brought it up to us.
No, I really hit him.
He sighs. Can't help it. It's dangerous. Forces, while we may have most of them distracted with the war, doesn't mean that you won't find opposition there, and I know you're strong. Don't get me wrong there. I've heard your deeds many times over. It surprises me every time I think about it, but it's dangerous where you're going. It could be a suicide mission for all we know.
If I'm not there, then it'll put everyone else at more risk. I have to go. There's no choice for me anymore.
With that, you see Antar sighing, and he shakes his head once very reluctantly. He says, I know, I understand that, and that's why I didn't push the matter after they all said much of the same as you did. That blasted woman knows more than any of us, I think, but I suppose either way, I want you to be safe. I know you're a hero, and you want to prove yourself and earn the favor of the one you've always been looking for, but don't throw your life away needlessly.
I won't. I've learned a bit of value in that. And he might not have come for me, but he did, he's taken notice, I suppose. And I'll show him a little bit of the blade, let him hold it.
See him looking at it and kind of hefts the blade a bit, and even though it's not very large in Anthar's gigantic hands and such, he hefts it a few times and nods, says it's heavy, not in weight, but I can feel the power and the responsibility of it, I think. So no one more capable of you than wielding it, I think. Hands it back to you.
So we'll survive this. And I think after I do that, I will travel a little bit. There's much to see.
You see him nodding, kind of musing over the thought. Says, I've given thoughts of retiring. I've given it heavily in recent months, honestly. Just ridding myself of all this business and letting someone younger take care of this, but I care about everyone under my command, and I can't trust any of these buffoons to lead them more than me, so if one buffoon is to lead the others, maybe we'll all die, but at least we'll die together.
Yes, a pleasant thought. Full of sarcasm.
Daddy smiles as well. I will not intrude too much on your time. I still have more business, more paperwork, more logistics to worry about before we set off. I need another 2 months to finish it all, but alas, I have a few more hours, and then we set off, and Pray to the gods that we're doing everything correctly and that they'll see us through to this.
I'll head for the door, and as I'm on my way out, I'll just say, and wear the damn armor. If I find out you died to a blue dragon and you weren't wearing that armor, so help me.
Hear him laughing as you shut the door behind you. With that, you head back to the room with your friends. Does anyone have anything else you would like to do for the rest of the day?
Nope.
Check the straps, make sure they're all tight on the gear. And
Put on my fancy white cloak.
Okay.
Put on the.
I keep imagining that scene in Gladiator, where, like Joaquin Phoenix is in the Senate, just sitting there twirling his blade with the point down. Shing, 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 shing. No,
All right.
waiting.
So as you spend the rest of the day taking stock of your provisions, preparing yourselves for what is to come, and being kind of bored for the last part of this day. It's been 2 days or most of 2 days being cooped up in this one room for the most part, but you're able to get through it, getting another night's of rest under your belts, and thus reducing your resurrection, though at this point it's a bit of a moot point. I wouldn't worry too much about the resurrection penalty. So with that, the third day hits, the day of the march commencing. As you wake up preparing, suiting up all of your armor, grabbing all of your belongings and such that have been brought to you, you have everything you need, for the most part, or is everything you're able to get at least, for this final battle. Set off out into the hallway. You see the two same men, look a bit tired, probably haven't slept much being your guards, but have done a diligent duty if nothing else. They nod to you as you all exit out of the room and start to lead you through the palace. As you wind through unfamiliar corridors, eventually you arrive at a few that you start to recognize as you start to get closer and closer to the entrance and exit to the palace, next to the stables on the backside of the palace itself, that you've been through several times up until now. Times in the past where things didn't feel quite as dire as they did now, but still times that you were still fighting this ever-present menace of the cult. As you get closer to the door, knowing it's only a few hallways away, the guards stop and turn to you. That the one that was bringing your food and such turns to you and says, "Well, they have prepared something for you to hide you. It won't last forever, and you have to be close together for the time being, but once we get on the road, it won't be such a big deal. But as we move through the city, you're going to be amongst a few of the guards marching through it, and you will be hidden." With that, he turns around and pulls this large backpack off of his back and opens it up, and you see it's just crammed full of this black fabric. He starts to pull it out and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls, and you see this huge, almost tarp-sized piece of black fabric that he pulls out. And with that, he hands it over to you. It says, "Place the black inward, and the outward one will hide you from sight." As I said, it's going to be a bit awkward and cumbersome. Try to protect yourself. It should drape all around you. We did some measurements as he looks over at Stone Skull and his towering height. Should cover all of you for the time being. It will be, as I said, uncomfortable, but only until we get outside of the city, and then we have arranged for a few carts for you to be traveled in, or to be occupied by yourselves while we travel. A bit easier to conceal your faces that way.
No, understood.
Stone Skull will take the tarp and just kind of hold it in his arms.
So
Yeah,
as
imagine you might have to duck a bit.
Yeah. So think of like making a canopy and Stone Skull's the center. Like his head is going to hold this up over all of you. So as you somewhat awkwardly go through and drape this incredibly large cloak of invisibility over all of you, you're able to get it around you, and you see that just barely it just drags on the ground all around you as you check the seams and such, and you're adequately able to tell that you'll be mostly hidden, at least from sight, though not from sound and such, obviously, but at least from sight while you travel this way. With that, the guards now
Blink.
unable to see you, kind of nod in your direction, and with that, they start walking. You all shuffle forward. I'll make you do a check and such. You all know each other's movements well enough to kind of guide each other and move together in such a way that it's, once again, kind of awkward, but you're able to keep the cloak around all of you. With
We
that,
just
the
hold on
guards...
to Stone Skill's biceps and calves and let him just walk around with us.
yeah, just a big ghost man. He's a ghost, but invisible. It's fine.
Spooky ghost.
It's like like any of the those robot shows. I can't think of the Power Rangers or whatever. We're all just hanging on to him. It's like one super Stone Skull.
Yeah, exactly.
Stone Skulls of Dawn or some bullshit. All right. So as they lead you forward, they open up the 2 double doors leading out to the stable, and you see that there's a fairly large, a good 30 or 40 guards stationed outside, and a few of them turn around, seeing the 2 members of the Gauntlet walking out. So they all turn back, trying not to pay attention to what they know to be there. You're led with the guards kind of towards the back end of the procession, where there's a few open spots where the guards are kind of taking a ceremonious, gap in the procession. But the gap truly hides that you're standing in between them, with plenty of room to move forward, backward, left, and right and such, but still be completely surrounded. As you start moving through the city itself, through the town or the city of Waterdeep, everybody except Tara, give me perception checks. Actually, Tara too.
Me. Just me.
As you
Yeah,
start
it's kinda hard to
moving,
see under this thing.
yeah, just tangled up to his skull. Though your perception is dulled, the black cloak hiding most of your sight, you can see through the weaves of it and such, the basic kind of mosaic of the world around you. As you move forward, you're able to see people. As you start moving forward through the den of the guards around you, but crowds and such who have gathered, or start to notice they're not really gathered, they're just moving in large clumps and such. You're all able to see that, and Tara kind of picking up the mood of the surroundings. It's a bit dismal compared to the last time you filled these streets. There was cheering and celebration and hope surrounding everything and everyone that you came in contact with or saw. Now it's quiet. Still the hustle and bustle of the city and such, but no cheers of celebration, just this somber mood seems to hang over everyone around you. Keep progressing, still under the cloak. As you make your way down Waterdeep Way, turning into the high road, heading towards the river gate where you know a lot of the armies are stationed, just outside these 2 gates here. Much of the same is going on around you. There's still the somber atmosphere. Occasionally you do hear and see people stopping to watch the soldiers, some of them wishing them well on what is to come in the fight and such. Obviously, these men are heading to the war as well. But still, like I said, that somber attitude seems to be leaving you, or remaining here. Whether it's because of the attack, or the news of your deaths, or probably both, you're not too sure, but definitely what happened just a few days ago is spread around the city of Waterdeep, and the mood has changed in response to it. Finally, what seems like an eternity, though it could only have been 20 or 30 minutes, you make your way out of the gates. There's still a flood of people that are moving off to the sides of the road here, moving away from the procession of the guard, but you see most of them are moving in to the city and not out. Waterdeep has been crowded every time you've come here, but it's got to be brimming with people at this point, people trying to escape the dragon attacks and people hoping for the safety of Waterdeep itself from the cult. As you leave the outer gate outside of the river gate, heading down off of this plateau, you see through the mosaic once again, the holes through this cloak, that there's thousands of people ahead of you, all in orderly ranks and such, as you see the armies of different forces, the amassing of all these different council members' forces that you've convinced to aid in this war effort have gathered and are preparing to set off. Quietly, but with much procession, though nobody seems to notice you, you move in towards the center of it, where there are several covered wagons set up in a line. You're able to gather that most of them are for supplies and such for the army, food and rations and working materials for metalsmiths and things of that nature. But you are stopped kind of in the middle of one, and you see both the Order of the Gauntlet kind of moving over and nudging the side of the cloak a few times, kind of nudging over towards one of the larger wagons. As you all shuffle a bit, moving over towards the wagon, you peer into the back and see that it's mostly empty, save a few bags of rations and such within it. Here, one of the guards, kind of with low voice, not really whispering, says, "Climb on in. We'll close the flaps behind you, and you'll be able to take that thing off. Have a few days ride ahead of you, but we'll check on you occasionally as our time allows us to. Just stay out of sight until we arrive." That they motion for you to climb up into the wagon, kind of one walking up to the front to jostle the horses so it covers your entry, especially Stone Skull, who kind of sinks the wagon down a few inches with his bulk. Not fat, just all pure muscle.
Pure muscle.
And with that,
And
you all
armor.
climb in the back. And armor, yeah. Well, no, he doesn't wear armor.
I don't wear any armor.
He takes
Oh,
that with a
touche.
full skin. The rest of you are wearing armor. That's not light.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you all climb into the back of this large wagon. The flaps being shut behind you as you pull this cloak off around you. As you're looking at it, you can see as it's kind of folded over each other, you already see small little blots of black beginning to appear on the invisible side of it. This definitely seemed like magic that was temporary and not meant to last very long. Unfortunately, as that could have been super useful for a group of adventurers, but
Mm-hmm.
Havoc learns and
And
takes those
I'm
away.
gonna need a bigger bag.
So you can tell that that cloak isn't going to last much longer. It was made for that purpose and that purpose alone. So with that, another hour or so goes by as you start heading towards midday. And then you start to all hear all around you shouts and yells, and then whistles going off, and you start to hear instruments being chimed up as tunes that you can all recognize are very rudimentary in their playing and very rhythmic with their songs. That the procession begins to move forward, the wagons in tow, as you can hear the massive armies of the Sword Coast begin venturing forward.
Yay. Let's
I
go.
need
I want to
someone
get there. I want to go.
to roll me a d20, please.
Alright, Tara. I mean, you didn't let us down before.
We believe in you.
All right. Everybody give me perception checks.
We don't believe in you anymore.
Tara, on brand. God, Terrace looks so bad when y'all roll like that. So as the procession sets off, it is mildly miserable for you to be cooped up in this cart. It's a large one, this large covered wagon. It gives you some room to stand and move around the center of it, but otherwise you were constrained inside there, still under the premise of wanting to hide your resurrection from the cult, not knowing if their spies lie within even the armies of Waterdeep. So with that, the journey begins. After a couple of days of travel, you notice us slowing a bit, as you know that Daggerford shouldn't lay too much further, even with the slower pace of the army's march down the tradeway. Daggerford shouldn't be far, but then you feel a slight adjustment of the course, and you can feel that you're heading off towards the small mountains and valleys to the north of Daggerford in the Misty Forest. The road gets a bit bumpy in travel. It's now more uncomfortable within the wagon itself. But nothing untoward seems to happen in your travels. At the end of the day, you feel that, seeing the sunlight fading, but the travel does not slow. It continues. Did stop for a few hours during the night the day before, but this one it seems that they're going to be marching through for some time. After a few more hours of travel, you understand why, as you feel the wagon stopping. And after a few minutes, it lurches forward another 100 feet or so and then stops. You start to hear, as you move closer after a few repetitions of this whirling kind of buzzing motion, or sound rather, that you all recognize as, from your current perspective, the sound of a teleportation circle being activated. After another hour of this start and stop charade, this sound is constantly growing much louder every time you move forward, to the point where every time it goes off, it's near deafening. You can tell that the teleportation circle that is going off, and you can hear at least one other in the distance, must be extremely large to make this much sound, based on what you've heard on the teleportation circles you've come in contact with. After another few minutes, you find yourself being moved forward, and you feel the terrain underneath the wagon shifting and changing, and it becomes hard. You can tell that you're traveling over rock. And as it comes to a stop again, you hear a yell, kind of general to everyone around, but you have a feeling it was meant for you. All right, everyone prepare yourself. We'll be much closer in a few moments. And after a few more moments of bated breath, the whir starts to build up, and just for a few moments, it's deafening in your ears. A few of you haven't even covered your ears trying to save yourself losing hearing. And then you can feel yourself, even inside this wagon, your bodies being whirred and moved through time and space as you were teleported across the Sword Coast. As the sound disappears, the whites in your eyes blinding you, returning, or subsiding rather, and your sight returning, you start looking around, and then you hear the same gruff voice saying, all right, we're as close as we're going to get right now. If anyone finds out, they won't be able to report. You're free to come out. And you see him, this older, gruff gentleman, opening up the back flap of the wagon and kind of motioning for you to head out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna hastily hop out. I want to get a view of the surrounding area. Where are we? What's going on?
So as you get out, you see that after moving a bit before you were instructed to get out, you see yourself surrounded by these armies. Different colors and such of Waterdeep and Neverwinter and Baldur's Gate all around you, surrounding you. But the biggest thing, aside from this massive, powerful army, you notice that the land around you is dismal, dead, ashen. As you're looking around, you can see that the area you're in now might have been a forest at one point, but only ash of the trees and such remains. As you're looking around, catching sight up and around the army, you can see that all the way ahead of you, down to the east and southeast, just this barren landscape lies ahead. As all of you start to gather this through your eyes or through your feelings, Tara, the same man that ushered you out of the cart, walks up and shakes his head as he lets out a long sigh. Says, "Damn dragons have been destroying everything in preparation, making sure we can't hide our approach. Not that we ever planned to, the idiots."
I want to look up in the sky. I mean, do we see the dragons floating around or flying around?
As you're looking around from your current perspective, you don't see any Oh, that hurt. Ouch. You don't see any dragons. However, as you're looking, and it's nighttime, so it's harder to see, you can make out just the bare silhouettes far to the east, just at the horizon, what appears to be the kind of caldera of a volcano, with its kind of cut off
Good
top
word,
of it.
by the way.
Thank you. as you're looking towards that, the man nods again, says, "We still have at least a day or two of travel, but it's not going to get any prettier from here, unfortunately. We ask that you still stay within our ranks for the time being, and when we get closer, well, you know more than I do at that. I've just been instructed to send you to the front lines with all the other generals."
Yeah, let's still keep our cloaks up. But let's get to the head of this war party so we can make sure all pieces are in place.
All right, so as the army seems to have been stopped for the time being after teleporting through, for the next hour or so, there's still the constant buzz and whir of the teleportation circle coming off as more and more men and women and soldiers come through this teleportation circle from just outside Daggerford to arrive here in a place that you learn is called Skull Gorge, just to the top rim of it. You note there's a pathway that leads from here and heads down to the Well of Dragons, and after resting for a few hours, you getting as much sleep as you can. At this point, you're all feeling back up to your full form, feeling stronger than you did before your fight in the field ward. All effects of your resurrection now subsiding. The next morning comes all too soon, and you set off again. As you move forward, you see more and more of the surrounding area. As you move forward, you see little remains in the territory surrounding the Well of Dragons, and you start to pick up something that was barely perceptible before, but now, as you get closer now to the Well of Dragons, seems to be this constant drone, and at first it takes you a few moments to recognize it. But then you remember the sound that you heard during or before the first council meeting of the Council of Waterdeep. The sound of something you had been sent to find, but had been taken away before you could capture it. You hear this low, constant drone of the Drakhorn. As you're looking around, seeing this constant drone of it, or hearing it rather, you can tell that local animals are nowhere to be found. The Drakhorn itself causing them to flee or driven them mad. You see a handful of villages on your travels. In the area are blood-stained ghost towns. Every farmstead you pass is a charred ruin. The few survivors you encounter are headed in the opposite direction. You see all of them have the same look on their faces of defeat and desperation. All of them do the same thing. They watch the sky for the telltale shape of dragon on the wing. As you get closer, towards the end of the day, you start to see the volcano that the Well of Dragons is called after begins to materialize slowly but surely in the distance. As you get closer towards the evening hours, knowing you probably have the next morning before arriving properly, you're able to see the caldera of a long-dead volcano rises from an ashen plain ahead of you. Along the cinder cone's steeply sloped sides, thousands of creatures mill about or are lining up in ordered infantry ranks ahead of you. In the air above, what you've been looking for and dreading, you see dozens of chromatic dragons wheel and shriek like a flock of immense crows, awaiting the bloodshed of the battle to come. As you stop for the evening, knowing that the dragons aren't far off, but you start to see your own forces coalescing in the area a bit more clearly as evening draws on. The first arrival, that is a very much welcome one, you see Skyreach Castle, home of the Cloud Giant? Yeah, Cloud Giant, who you befriended, arriving slowly but surely at its measured pace. It's actually, one thing I forgot to mention, it had set off before everyone else to arrive here in time. Obviously traveling pretty well after it got outside of the city, but just now arriving behind the army. Alongside Skyreach Castle, you start to see one by one metallic dragons begin to appear. You see that they don't land too near the people. You're able to immediately see bits of scorn and hesitant fear towards the dragons themselves, even though they are allies in this fight. The deeds of dragons, albeit chromatic ones, still is set deep in a lot of these soldiers and a lot of these people on this war campaign. A lot of them may never trust dragons again, chromatic or metallic otherwise. But they are a welcome sight, especially with the looming threat of all the chromatic dragons you see on the wing flying around the Well of Dragons itself. As the night sets in and everyone seems to start setting up their camps and such, a soldier comes back, obviously a higher ranked one based on his marks. Kind of nods to you in turn as he approaches. He says, if you don't mind, Scales, you're requested to the front to talk about final battle preparations and to prepare for tomorrow's mission. And he kind of nods to each of you and holds out his hand, kind of escorting you towards the front of the army.
Yeah. Now is, still keeping, head down, maintaining a low profile, but start moving through the ranks into the front of the formation.
So as you all move forward, dogs. It takes you a few minutes to walk through the menagerie of all these different armies and people. Thousands and thousands of soldiers have been assembled for this, and even then you look on the horizon still with the fleeting light and you see that there is an equal if not greater force waiting for you at the Well of Dragons. That being said, it doesn't deter you as you move up to the front where you see large command tents have been erected, and with that you venture into them under the soldiers' lead. As you move in, you see several members of the council are present. They are all on Thar. Where is my list of people? There it is. You see Neverember, Conrad Braunanvil, and finally Marshal Udor Ravengard is present as well, along with King Melandrach. They're studying over a large table, which you can see in the middle of it has a fairly accurate depiction of the Well of Dragons, this large volcano in the middle of it. As you enter, you see most of them turning around, and a few of them with smiles kind of nodding at your return, and they usher for you to join them. As you move forward, they begin to start laying out plans. Based on your insight as to what you have planned. Anybody take down notes of what y'all's plans was?
It's in the Tyranny chat.
Yeah, Stone's Call.
Okay.
Of all people, transcribed it all.
Yeah, the tactician. Doesn't write real good. You had to ask somebody to write those words.
As we're standing here, Tara's going to summon Mr. Pebbles to get ready.
Yeah, you all see Mr. Pebbles in his new form is swole, to say the least. Tell that his he's grown a bit. Still a large creature, but he's definitely changed a bit. His stony exterior looks harder. He has something you hadn't really noticed, this eyes that seem to have a bit of intelligence in them instead of the kind of dead stare of a construct. Just tiny little subtleties that you all recognize, but many others that don't know or have fought alongside him may not notice.
When he fully forms, Tara's going to hold out her hand to fist bump him and then climb on top of his shoulders.
Obliges, and I'm not going to turn him into Baymax, so...
Instead of just a fist bump, it's like the up down, like they got their handshake, like up down, back, back.
The handshake has evolved as well.
Yeah, ooh, fancy.
All right, so as Tara does that, they begin to lay out the plans based on your insight, along with what they planned as well. They explain that on Skyreach itself, they will transport a bunch of the soldiers and the conscripts there from Neverwinter, as well as the Cormyr Knights and the Silvery Moon Knights as well from From Tairn Hornblade, taking these conscript troops as well as the Knights in Silver there to help protect the castle, while it helps to repel the dragons. They motion and show to the front lines up right in front of the forces of the cult, which you can see are dotted with many dragons, kind of larger, flying up above the cult, but down on the ground you see a menagerie of wizards, all with red cloaks and such. You see cult members, obviously. You see these vile-looking creatures that you're able to learn are devils and fiends that seem to have joined in the forces there, wanting to usher Tiamat's return and expulsion from the first layer of hell that she resides in. Yeah, that's everything. Counter opposite that, on the front line, you see Conrad Braunhavel's dwarven soldiers, as well as the siege weapons set just behind that. You see the conscript troops, as well as the army of Waterdeep there. King Melandrach's elven knights, as well as spellcasters, Eldritch knights put into there, as well as Baldur's Gate's Flaming Fist warriors at the spearhead of the vanguard, being some of the most talented troops at killing out of the entire army. Behind them, you have the Order of the Gauntlets, the clerics and paladins there to keep the front line going with their healing magic, as well as the paladins with their protection magic to assist with the front lines there. And this is where the siege engines are as well, from the dwarves from Conrad Braunhavel. Behind all of this, you have members of the Emerald Enclave. You see amongst their ranks some that you saw as you were walking through the camp. Many different forces, a lot of them animals, and some creatures that you didn't recognize but appeared to be gnarled roots and trees and such that have joined in at the behest of the Emerald Enclave. And their leader, or their representative, Delan Winterhound. Among that as well, you have your information gatherers, as well as some spellcasters among their rank as well, with the Harpers. Off to the side, there are two set-off tokens, one being a large silver dragon, and the other one just looks like a man in a cloak. They explain that the Zentarum have brought some of their best assassins, as well as many of their mercenaries to assist with the front line. But they say that the assassins will be the key to their operation, as they will be finding, targeting, and surely killing any leadership that they can get their hands on in the back ranks, moving behind enemy lines with their own spies and assassins. The silver dragon that you see, obviously representing the metallic dragons from the Council of Dragons. You see that while there are not as many dragons present as the chromatic dragons, you're able to tell that there are some very old and very powerful ones that have been convinced to assist in this fight. And they will be doing their best to counteract the chromatic dragons, but also assisting where they can, kind of being a movable piece in this game of war.
Hey, could you imagine an ancient dragon fight?
Yeah.
I can. So, as they laid all the plans out for you and such, showing all of the different movements and how each force is and what they can give and such, the council, not the full council of Waterdeep present, but the war council, the focus of it, looks to you once again, and you see them pausing for a second, and you see older Ravengard kind of nodding. He says, "Well, all subtleties aside then, it's good to see you all still alive. Unfortunately, you have the hardest task, and I do hope that you're still up for it."
We are. Up for it would be an understatement. And you've seen these lands. This is a preview of what the Sword Coast and Toro would look like should they succeed. We cannot let that happen.
With that, you see Marshal Ravengard nodding and says, "Quite. It is not a scene I want to see spread from here, if we can help it, so... We plan, as you've been told, for you to venture to the front lines. We plan on having you there to help the right flank, at least at the very beginning. That'll be the closest to where we're aiming for you to be teleported to. You'll have an assistant of... the assistant of 5 wizards, not terrible ones that our friends from the Arcane Brotherhood have said are one of their best, or some of their best, rather. They will take you there via some magic, transport you there to the place, but afraid once you enter inside there, they will be coming back to join in the ranks if they are able. They've all agreed to this mission. Or another, you're gonna get there. Can't promise you'll make it back out. We have no plan for that. So we'll take care of the army on the outside, but you have to take care of what's on the inside, whatever that may end up being.
Just make sure that the fight is loud. Try and pull as many of their forces to the front lines as possible. And we will move as swiftly as we can.
Say that, you see him cracking through his stony face just an ever so present grin, and he says, "Oh, it will be loud. Don't think that we're not going to try to just win the war outside while you're doing your thing inside. Just good planning, really."
Best to not put all of our eggs in one basket.
He smiles and nods, says, "Yes. There are some developments. Let you know now." And he slides over a parchment, kind of pushing it towards you. Says, "There have been hundreds of prisoners seen taken into the very tunnels that we're trying to send you to. They've disappeared, and we're not too sure where they are, but we're assuming within the well itself, somewhere. Imagine what they plan on doing to those poor people. We've also seen something beginning to start." And he slides another parchment forward. Says, "As we were stopping, and we had some scrying magic that was able to see above the well itself." Well, I points down to the paper, and you see what appears to be a drawing on it. It says, "This has started to form in the caldera." On this parchment, you see this drawing of what appears to be the, kind of hollow dome of the inside of the top of the volcano. You expect to see, brown ashen earth and such. Instead, you see something that appears to be breaking out of the center of it. You see what appears to be this mind-numbing structure. Seems to be pushing itself beneath the tangled bones of the caldera that are on the caldera of the volcano to start to tower above the blasted volcano. You can tell that based on the depiction there, that this partly volcanic ash has fused with dragon bones and probably stone, imbued with dark magic of the 9 hells. As you're looking over this, very grave look on Marshal Ravengard's face, he says, "We believe this to be the temple of Tiamat that's being brought into this world for her resurrection. Based on what we've learned from our spies and the Harpers in the Zentarum, this is the first step. They bring the temple here, which will probably be here before sunrise tomorrow. After that, they start the ritual. Plan to attack at first light as soon as the dawn rises, but after that, there's no telling what's going to happen."
Well, I believe we all know what's going to happen should we fail.
Todd says, "Well, we're here to make sure that doesn't happen." So, kind of motions back to the large depiction of the Well of Dragons and the surrounding battlefield. Says, "If you have no further insight or changes, I think this would be as good a plan as any as to what we're about to face tomorrow, and that is all, then I would would advise to get one more night of good rest. It's going to be a very long day tomorrow.
The longest.
Anybody have
no,
anything for them?
Nothing else. Nope.
No, I don't.
Well, it was explained pretty well.
Alrighty. So with that, you head off of the command tents, heading into another set aside near them, which has been stationed off for you to all sleep there for the night. As you all make your way to it and settle down for the evening, sleep does not come willingly to you all. It's not to the point where you can't. You'll still sleep for the evening, but the knowledge of what you're facing, what could be the culmination of all your journeys thus far, from a small town called Greenest to a place called the Sea of Moving Ice, and everywhere in between, through all these different places you've gone to, finally ending not far from where you started, just a few hundred miles to the northeast of that small town, where you all set off on a fateful journey, defending the town from the cult. Now you've come to finish the job, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
As you all rest for the evening, preparing for the last night before the final battle, that is where we're going to end the session for the evening.
Yay.
Oh boy.
You're there.
Here we are, boys.
All right.
All right. Say bye to stream.
Bye.
Bye.
Stream.
Bye, stream.